Okay then, guys. Welcome to the Arkham Reporter channel. Today we're going to be doing something a little bit different. First time I'm doing sort of a podcast type of thing, interview. Well, not first time interview, but I've had an interview before. But this is the first time I'm doing a podcast, and I hope you guys really like it. Today we're going to be talking to Big Dave Martel, who is a name that you should know. I've plugged him quite a few times on my channel, in my newsletter videos. And he is the editor-in-chief of the Bizarchives, which is the spiritual resurrection, I should say, of the weird tales that Lovecraft wrote for. Is that a correct description, Mr. Dave Martel?
Yes, sir, it is. Yes, sir, it is. And I gotta say, thank you so much for having me. I watch all your videos. I've been a big fan of your work for a long time, and the fact that we get to cross paths a little bit and get on a show together is really exciting for me. So thank you for having me.
It's my pleasure. Yeah. So let's get into this. I've always felt that in this modern day era, there is something lacking in a sort of spiritual sense. I think you'd agree. And then I sort of stumbled across the Bizarchives. So it hasn't quite reached the levels that it will reach one day. I know it will reach higher levels, but right now, for those who don't know, what is the Bizarchives?
The Bizarchives, Weird Tales of Monsters, Magic, and Machines is, as you said, it's a bit of a reincarnation of the old Weird Tales magazine and the weird pulps of yesteryear, the golden era of fiction, the 20s, 30s, and 40s, but a little bit in the flavor of how we do things now. Obviously, there's some more modern format stuff and stuff like that, but we still have cool art on there. We still have interior art and all that. But the Bizarchives itself is a compilation of aspiring pulp authors in multiple genres. Obviously, being that our patron saint is H.P. Lovecraft. Everybody here, all the cultists know. But we also draw great inspiration from guys like Robert E. Howard and Clark Ashton Smith and just all the great pulp writers of yesteryear, Edgar Rice Burroughs. So we have lots of variation of our genres. We'll have folk horror, we'll have cyberpunk, we'll have sword and sorcery, dark fantasy. We kind of go all over the place with our genres, but the one that's nearest and dearest to our hearts is cosmic horror. So we have a lot of different authors from all over the world. We got guys in England, guys here in the States. We got guys that are from France and so on and so forth. Folks from all over the place. Aspiring authors that kind of, we could get into this a little bit later, that have had trouble run into walls with what some people would call big pub, the big publishing companies. And they got kind of cold-shouldered by them because they're not of the type of people that they want to lift up these days. So, these very talented guys, a lot of them were discouraged and got out of writing. And now they work with the Bizarchives and there are a few other pulp publications out there that are very good as well. So we're kind of this budding pulp movement, I guess you could say, of guys that are that really want to write in the old school style, that want to, obviously there wasn't any cyberpunk back in the 20s, right? We have some more modern stuff because we're modern people, whether we like it or not. But it's that same thrust, it's that same spirit, and it's that same kind of idea of writing these exciting, imaginative, strange, weird types of short form fiction that are accessible to everybody, and it's not just stuffy academic stuff. Any Joe Schmo that likes to read cool stories can pick up the Bizarchives and read it. In fact, most of the guys that reach out to me and say that they really like the Bizarchives are regular folks. I've quite a few times folks have said, "Yo, Dave, thank you for making reading cool again for me." You know what I mean? And that's something that's really special to me. And a lot of our authors are blue-collar guys. I come from a working-class background. A lot of these guys are, I can't remember who said it, but somebody said that the working class was lumpy with talent. And that's what a lot of these guys are. They they were probably they wrote a little bit in high school or whatever, and then they got out and got into the trades or went into whatever line of work that they did and kind of just let it go. But a lot of them are are kind of my age, early 30s or whatever, young fathers that want to get back into their creativity and want to get back into their imagination. So they write stories for us, and a lot of the submissions that we get, a lot of times I will they'll preface it by saying, "Hey Dave, I haven't written in a long time. I'm just a forklift operator, I'm a welder, or I'm this kind of that, but I love to write, and I hope you enjoy my story." And let me tell you, a lot of the times the stories are pretty good. So we get a lot of really cool submissions from aspiring, upcoming guys, and then obviously we got some guys in the Bizarchives that are already established, guys that are a little bit older, seasoned. So it's people, guys from all walks that come together to really put their love and their passion and their energy into old school style weird fiction.
Yeah. So you would definitely say that your target audience is lying with the more the working class average man on the street type of thing, right?
Yeah. That being said, we're not like excluding guys that might have like white collar jobs or anything like that. But in my opinion, Big Pub has left the working man behind. And when I say working man, I literally mean man too. A lot of times modern literature, especially now, is geared towards women. You know what I mean? It's not geared towards men. As far as I know, everybody knows, they hear about toxic masculinity, all this stuff. They put this ideology into the stuff that they create on an industrial level. You know what I mean? They don't want men reading masculine, awesome things. Yeah. They don't want stories about some big jacked hero saving a beautiful busty broad. They don't want heroics. They don't want that kind of stuff, right? And that's what guys like to read. Guys like to read Giga Chad turbo violence. Guys want to read about weird monsters in outer space. Guys want to read cool, fun stuff that doesn't take up their whole day. They could read a few stories, knock it out, enjoy it, and go back to whatever they were doing. And that's kind of what we, that's the demographic that we targeted, because that's us. You know what I mean?
Right.
And I'm not saying there's something wrong with long form. I'm not saying that women can't enjoy our stuff too. We actually have a surprisingly large minority of female readers that also like this stuff. But we had the boys in mind when we conceptualized Bizarchives.
Yeah, nothing at all wrong with that. I know there's definitely a sort of should I say, a female dominance in the publishing market these days. At least I'm speaking from the American and UK markets. So having something that is more focused on the male audience, or even just focused on a neutral audience. You know, it's not always having to be like, okay, you're on the left, so I'm on the right, that type of thing. Like, it has to be some sort of thing that balances out. I really appreciate that, Bizarchives was just, it wasn't like sort of going on the contrarian from what's happening in this revolting world that we're living in today. It was just apolitical, basically, right?
Yeah, obviously. It's now obviously, it's like if you, doesn't matter who you are. If you're a writer, you have, human beings, especially now, have political views. Right. Your worldview, your Weltanschauung will be depicted in your art. It's whether you like it or not, it happens organically. Yeah. Now, what we really, really strive for is to make sure that we do not publish propaganda. We publish art, we publish fiction, we publish literature, and we do not like to have like overt propaganda in there. We're not virtue signaling. We're not telling you to vote for anything. We just want to tell cool stories for the sake of cool stories, and give up and coming talented people a chance to see their names in print, and to give regular Joe Schmoes cool art now that's not completely just like, man, let me tell you, some of this, when I first got into this, when I first started getting into weird fiction and stuff like that, I joined like a few Facebook groups just to see what the indies are doing and stuff like that. Because obviously I'm going to be an indie. I knew that. I'm not gonna open some $1 million publishing house. I had like $200 in my pocket left over from COVID stimulus check, right? Mm-hmm, yeah. So So I go and I look at what they're doing, and some of the stuff that they're writing is just gross. It's just gross.
Yeah.
Just really graphic, like pornographic things, overt, just political and like social messages that are just. And I'm just like, who's reading this? Who enjoys this? And really, the only people that enjoy it and read it are like the people that are in their cliques.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, publishing is very, very cliquey
Yeah.
these days. So I was like, I want to be the opposite of this. I want to do the best that I can to recreate the magic of Weird Tales magazine with what I have and what we have at the Biz Archives. And I feel that we've gotten pretty close. And I feel that the old authors, if we called up Donald Wandre and Clark Ashton Smith and Lovecraft and these guys from the other world, and we said, hey, what do you guys think about what we're doing? I feel very confident that they would give us a thumbs up.
I absolutely feel that as well. You're definitely connecting with a spirit it hasn't died. It's gone very dormant in this reign of filth that we are facing in this modern day era, I'm afraid. I noticed on the bizarchives.com on the content guidelines, you made it very clear that you wrote here, instead we present our work tastefully and without degeneracy for the sake of degeneracy. And that anything that is we reject anything that is blatantly pornographic or promoting sexual deviancy. So this is a type of thing that's really going to the old school of the archives, not really using. I guess I always turn to like the shock-provoking media that we see these days. It seems like the slippery slope has turned into a goddamn water slide. Frankly, when it comes to this type of thing. So you guys are not about that, right?
No, not at all. We I have gotten some submissions from guys that write in a genre that they call extreme horror, and we're not interested in that. I don't want to publish something that has really graphic descriptions of sex scenes. I don't want to have like weird furry stuff. I don't want that in there. No, obviously you can write like there are stories in our books where characters make love and stuff like, but you can do it tastefully. You know what I mean? The way that you frame it and the way you describe it, you can do it tastefully. People aren't dumb. They read it and they know what you're implying, and it's perfectly fine. It's perfectly natural, and obviously if you're depicting where we write horror, right? So it's like, if you are depicting some sort of dystopian cyberpunk place or some sort of really grim, dark fantasy sword and sorcery, there's going to be death. There's going to be murder. There's going to be really grim and bleak circumstances to really make the setting the way that you want it to be. But there is, if you are a talented enough writer, and I believe that our writers are, you could do it in such a way that it's not grotesque and that it's you don't cringe when you read it. So I'm not interested in things that are pornographic. I'm not interested in things that are just blatantly gross or deviant.
Yeah, that's very good. I think that's a real. I really think you can corner a market. I think that there's a sort of an exasperation these days with the media that we are consuming. It feels like a lot of it is junk food, easily consumed and then easily forgotten in this modern day era. I guess, it's no secret we are in a culture war here, but surely there must have been some point where you had sort of a realization, click, I have to start Biz Archives. This is what I need to do. What was that moment like for you?
Well, just to give you kind of a short version of my journey here. I've been podcasting for quite a few years. I started doing podcasting in 2008, 2009, something like that. And I did a lot of political stuff. I did conspiracy theories. I did those kinds of things. And then, I took a break for a while and came back a few years before the election in 2016 and, covered some stuff like that. And let me tell you, getting involved with that stuff, while I think that I'm not ashamed of anything that I've done.
Yep.
I believe that we did a good job raising awareness and exposing things in this world that need to be exposed, and all that kind of stuff. It rots your soul out after a while. Following news cycles, listening to people threatening like over very basic things. Like you would think that in another time and place, if you brought certain things to light, everybody would be like, this is terrible. There's no way we could support this. But, instead, the reaction that I got back then was there were people that were threatening to kill my family and like, just like really nasty stuff.
Yeah.
I'm not, I'm a pretty mentally tough guy. I could deal with it. But after like years of hearing threats and hearing nasty stuff about, my wife and my kids and people that I care about and all this, it gets to you after a while and it rots your soul out. So I was like, I kind of, I started focusing on my faith and I started doing more content, promoting spirituality and stuff like that. And when the pandemic hit, we had a tough time where I'm at, in my household. We had a tough time. At the time, me and my wife were getting ready to buy our first house. We were on the house. I saved up money for years and years to have enough for a down payment on a house. We were house shopping. We're looking at houses and all this stuff. The pandemic hits. I lose my job. We lost almost everything. And, I was feeling pretty depressed. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Locked down in your house, especially in those early days during the pandemic, where we're seeing all this like outrage porn. We're seeing the piles of bodies in China and Afghanistan. I saw all that stuff. You know what I mean? I'm a dad. I got kids. You know what I mean? At the time, my wife was pregnant. So it's like I have an elderly mother that has emphysema. So it's like, I'm like really freaked out by this. This stress and the being locked down. And it got to me real bad. Mm-hmm. And I had I fell into my faith and I, had kind of an epiphany that I need to create something, and I need to create something that I love. I need to heal, and I need to do this, and I need to do this for other people too. And I was like, you know what? I'm gonna do something with Pulp Fiction because I love Pulp Fiction. So I conceptualized the Bizarchives. I came up with the name, which is a combination of bizarre and archives.
It's a great name. It really clicks. It really is a good one. Yeah.
Thank you, sir. Yeah. So Bizarchives, weird tales of monsters, magic, and machines. I put the weird tales in there so people knew what we were getting at.
Yeah.
I put it up on social media. I was like, hey guys, if there's anybody who wants to submit a story or whatever. Some of the first stories that I got were from guys that are now like pillars of the Bizarchives. Guys like A. Cuthbertson, who did our Cosmic Horror double feature. He's in every single issue. M.S. Jones, Robert C. Booth, just so many great guys that just hopped on and joined in. Emra Tan. We got so many guys in there. I'm writing stories myself. So we put together this compilation, and I was like, let's keep going with this. So I reached out to a buddy of mine, Donald Kent, who's like a really prolific comic book artist. The guy's really, really great. And I was like, Don, draw me a cover. And I showed him the introduction story that I did for the first Bizarchives, which is called Welcome. Mm-hmm. And he made like a adaptation of that. He made the little logo for us, and we put it up there. And I was like, let's see if people bite. Well, we blew our goals out. We had the goals for the entire year that we blew out in the first month. So it's like the sales that we thought we were going to have, we like, multiplied them many times. And I was like, wow, people really like this. And before I know it, I've got dozens of 5-star reviews all over the place. People are hitting me up. It just falls into my lap and kind of takes on legs of its own. And the journey since then it's just been tremendous. I've gotten to know so many other cool indie publishers, and I get to cross-pollinate with so many smart, talented people. I get to know all these cool artists and talk and read these stories from these like really brilliant guys, and it's so much fun. And let me tell you, probably my favorite thing with doing this and being the kind of publication that we are, because we're not, big pub. We take
Right.
guys that are looking for their the first open door. They're looking for a step up. They want to get in print for the first time. So my favorite thing that with the Bizarchives is when we put out an issue and I show it to somebody, especially if I get to do it in real life. I get to show it to somebody who's seeing their name in print for the first time. Their eyes light up. It's like a really special thing, and it makes me feel like Santa Claus. So I just love doing this. It's beautiful.
Yeah, you can really tell when there is passion in a project, then it succeeds. Well, it's more likely to succeed. And currently I'm looking at the Amazon page where you can pick up the Bizarchives. You have overwhelmingly 5 stars. You are currently sitting on 4.8 out of 5 stars. That's all the total ratings put together. And I see like 0% 1 star. So this is really something that will blow up, I think. Definitely, right?
Yeah, I hope so.
It's blowing up now. I believe I read somewhere, perhaps it was on your Substack page. By the way, guys, Dave Martel and the Bizarchives, they have a Substack. I'll leave a link down below where you can read. It's like the official blog of the Bizarchives. Mm-hmm. But I believe I read there, or it was on a chat we had, that you have aspirations that goes beyond the page. You were talking about film, for example, gaming, that type of stuff. You want to tell us a little bit more about what you want to do with the Bizarchives beyond the page?
So yeah, the Bizarchives, we've had these ideas from like day one. They're like, let's do the literature and like let's get into as many mediums as we can, right? We really wanted to get into that, especially now that not a lot of people, as we mentioned before, publishing has kind of left regular people behind. Left regular people behind, and regular people now watch movies and play video games.
Yeah.
So I was like, let's do our best to try to kind of take a stab into those arenas. So I got together with some really, really smart guys and conceptualized a video game that is partly sponsored by the Bizarchives. So every time you buy Bizarchives books, you're sponsoring these other projects too. And this game is going to be called Legends of Hyperborea. It's programmed by a guy named Fornull. He has a really cool YouTube channel too. He does these like dragon synth adventure streams where he plays this cool dragon synth music. Very like multi-talented guy. Very, very talented guy. The character design or the character 3D design is done by a guy named Dinostorm. He runs Dinostorm Games. He's also a short film maker. Yeah. The art is done by a Finnish dude who's really, really talented named Arturi Kivela. And he's doing the art for the cover of Bizarchives 3 as well. We already did it, which will be available very, very soon. And then music is going to be done by a gentleman named Luke Mason, who runs he's just a super, super talented musician. And he has a one-man band called Imminent Rain for anybody that really likes heavy metal. He does like old school style, speed, power metal kind of stuff. He sings everything, plays the guitar, everything, bass, all of it, records it all, does the keyboards and everything. He's doing our music. So we put together kind of this low-key super team, like this A-team of guys to come together for this video game of Legends of Hyperborea. And the game is going to be for guys that might be older millennials, might remember a game called Gauntlet Legends. That was that was on the arcade. It was in the arcade. It was also available for N64. It's going to be like a cross between that and another older game called Golden Axe. So it's you're ticking all the boxes here, man.
My nostalgia meter is like beeping like in Chernobyl here. I was like in Chernobyl with the Geiger counter. Yeah, this is great, man.
Yep. So we're doing a heroic fantasy hack and slash with it's just old school style, big, strong, muscular heroes that go in and they just slaughter bad guys. It's just a hack and slash. You get tons of gold. You level up. You do all this stuff, and we're working on that right now. So that's coming out. And also, we have a couple of short films that are in the works. My buddy Wolf Shield, he does Wolf Shield films, he is doing an adaptation of the story Baby Teeth that was in Bizarchives 1. And then also I'm going to be doing a short film. It's my first one ever that we're going to get started filming this summer. It's called The Book. And it's going to be kind of a cosmic horror short film. I hope it turns out. I hope it's not too terrible because it's my first time doing it. But yeah, so we're getting into film. We're getting into video games. We're going anywhere that we think that we need to go. Because here's the thing: these institutions that create these art forms that we love, the old school video games, music, literature, film, all of these stuff. They're in the hands of people that don't have our best interests at heart. They care about their agenda, and they care about making their pockets full. And they don't care about the art form, and they certainly don't care about us. So it's up to us to create these things, because if we don't, they will. And what they're going to create is monstrous and disrespectful and downright like blasphemous to our very brilliant, genius artistic forebears that made these wonderful art forms that really changed the world. Guys like Lovecraft and Howard, and we could get all into the list goes is crazy, but we have to do it. Nobody else will. So we're gonna try.
This is absolutely the thing I was just going to comment on, but you answered my question basically, is that with all these people that you're listing, like this guy who's doing a one-man band type of thing, and the programmer who's like programming the whole game and such, it's like, I think this day and age, we are seeing people just sit back and have to consume what is fed to us from these big corporations. Like Disney produces a Star Wars. That's one. You just have to consume it. Marvel Comics. I'm not a comic guy, but I follow some people who criticize it, like Geeks and Gamers and Young Ripper and such. People just have this mindset that you just have to sit back and consume it, even though you're consuming shit. I mean, you take Star Wars. You got the old fans from the back in the day, who really found some magic in the original trilogy. And then they see this new trilogy and they're like, okay, I guess I have to take it. But it seems with the Bizarchives, and I noticed with some other companies, very small ones now, but they are building, it's like we're just saying, fuck it. We're doing our own thing. And that seems to be the spirit that's driving you guys. Isn't that right?
Yeah, actually, probably you asked me before what switched me to make Bizarchives. I was on Facebook in one of these groups where they were doing this, and I saw something that was just like a complete just social justice monstrosity, mockery of what we love. And I was like, you guys should be ashamed of yourselves. This is terrible. Yeah. And then somebody commented, they're like, okay, fine, make your own. And I was like, okay, I will. And guess what? I did.
Yeah, that is the spirit to go for, truly. In this day and age, I just feel like a lot of people feel like it's very overwhelming. Like, okay, I'll make my own film. Oh, well, how do I do that? I don't have any resources. But in my experience doing my channel, been doing it 6, going on 7 years, people are so cautious to write in such things and maybe create their own films. But the spirit is always very welcoming. Even if you don't have the budget to do something amazing, just making something by yourself, original. I mean, the original Star Wars, it just started with nothing, basically. Yeah. It was completely fresh. I think this is a spirit that really needs to be fostered in the modern day creative community. And I think Bizarchives is really pushing this message. And this is why I'm so happy to have you on my channel and to support you in any way I can.
So you guys out there that are listening right now that have maybe some sort of dream about creating something creative, whether it be literature or games or film or what have you, whatever you're thinking of, the only thing that's stopping you from doing it in this, let me tell you, when it comes to now there's self-publishing, now there's so many different tools that you can use to make things that are much more accessible. It's not like back in the day where if you wanted music, you had to record it on wax and then use celluloid and do all this. I love the aesthetics. I absolutely adore the look and the vibe of old art. we now have all of these things like very easy. It's very easy to create art now.
Yeah.
So the only thing that's stopping you is you. And let me tell you, do not let the perfect stop you from the good. You're not your first thing that you create is not going to be perfect. What you need to focus on is creating something. And let me tell you, people have a sense, people that really appreciate good art, they have this sense where they enjoy uniqueness and passion. They want your uniqueness and your passion. Even if your film's a little campy, even if your first book is a little wonky, even if your first comic book that you draw isn't all the way perfect, they're not gonna care about that. People love indie stuff. They love handmade stuff. There's a little bit of magic that goes into things that are a little bit flawed and a little bit lumpy, right? So people aren't going to judge you if your first work. Obviously there's going to be trolls out there or whatever. But what are they doing? They're doing nothing. They're crabs in a bucket. Don't even listen to them. Listen to the people that actually like give you good feedback and constructive feedback. And they're going to say, hey, I thought this was really good. This is that, blah, blah, blah. Try do this, try and do that. And then every time you create something, it's going to get a little bit better. And then before you know it, you're going to look back and you're going to be like, wow, I came a long way. But it takes work. It takes effort. It takes love and passion. And you just have to grind. You have to grind. That's it. But you can do it. Whatever you want to do, you can do it.
It's a really positive message, and I really think that's important to foster these days, because sometimes it just can be a little bit overwhelming, just being, as a sensitive person, just being alive these days, you see this negativity all around you. So I already think this is a breath of fresh air, and I need to actually take your words to heart with my own publishing, because I hope to do that very soon. I have a bunch of short stories, but I know some people have been asking on my channel, when's it coming? When I finally do have something, I'll send it to Dave Martel. If he likes it, it'll be in the Bizarchives, and that's where you can read it. That's where I'm going to make it known, So, and for a lot of people, because on my channel, I get a lot of emails with scripts, PDFs, Word files of these short stories, and I'm just like overwhelmed with them. So if you're watching this, Dave Martel is the guy to be supporting right now, because a lot of these guys are sending me a cosmic horror. I'm doing the whole Lovecraft thing. This is the company I'm really putting 5 stars behind it. I'm not getting any benefits out of it or anything like that, rather than just simply reviving an old spirit that needs to be revived in this nightmare, this clown world that we're living in. I have a few more questions. I saw a video that you did, a live stream with another channel, which was WAC TV, and I noticed a couple of the other writers that you mentioned, Robert Booth, Cuthbertson was there as well, and I saw this was called the White Art Collective. Do you want to tell us a little bit about that?
Oh, they're friends of mine. They support the Bizarchives. They're just really great people, and they support artists. I guess you could say like white people artists. I'll just say.
Man, this is my channel. You can speak completely freely.
Okay,
don't worry about that.
So because of the nature of the various art industries of music and whatever, there's I'm sure everybody's familiar with how blatantly anti-white they are. The stuff that they talk about is ridiculous, right? They say that having white children is terrorism. That white people are inherently evil and awful, and all this really just horrible stuff that they say. That if you said about any other people in the entire world, it would be you would be crucified, right?
Yeah, pretty much.
So what White Art Collective does is they say, hey, you white folks that are out there that don't hate yourselves, and guys that want a platform to come and do this stuff, we got your backs and we care about you. And they're good people, and they really go hard for their artists. They were huge supporters of. I didn't even ask them. They did. Yeah. They made promo videos for Bizarchives. They tweeted me out. if it wasn't for White Art Collective, Bizarchives probably wouldn't be where it's at today. So they are, regardless of what you may think about how they do things or how they're labeled or whatever, they're what's in their hearts is really, really good, and the efforts that they do are really positive, and I owe them quite a bit, and much love and many blessings to those guys.
Yeah. I know, tragically, I have to, because we live in this world that we do, I have to mention, obviously, in the Bizarchives, it doesn't matter where you're coming from, what your gender is, what your race is, to publish something, right? It's not like you're promoting white literature or something.
No, we if you are, we got a guy that's Turkish that writes stories for us.
Yeah.
Obviously, it's just weird fiction tends to be of the interest of white dudes, right?
Yeah.
It's just
it's true, historically speaking. But the Japs were pretty good as well. The Japanese, they produced a lot. I made a video about Lovecraft in Japan, and even when they still had an empire, they were translating his stories. I thought, what the hell is this? So, I mean, I think when it comes to cosmic horror and what have you, it is something that is a very special feeling that's not unique to... a lot of people can feel it, but yeah, you're all right, that it seems to be something that is more in the spirit of Western men, and also, in the various parts of the world as well, Lovecraft is extremely popular in Latin America for some reason. I was very surprised to see that when I was in Madrid. I got a bunch of books, and many of the writers and the illustrators are coming from Latin America. So this is something that I think maybe you'd agree that this is something that touches, as Lovecraft would put it, the spirits of a sensitive few. As he wrote in the Call of Cthulhu, that a sensitive few around the world felt the stirrings of Cthulhu, which I always thought is a metaphor for people being able to get cosmic horror. So.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. There are quite a few different countries that have done very, very good jobs of creating cosmic horror art. So yeah, I've gotten story submissions from I got one from Argentina. I got a few of them from Brazil. Yeah. I haven't gotten any from the Asian world. However, the Bizarchives has sold copies in Japan. So there have been a few Bizarchives floating around in Japan somewhere. Very
That's
cool. Great.
Yeah,
they the Japanese are very they really like the kind of stuff that we put out, the old school stuff. So but here in the West, if you go to a something that like a Lovecraft convention, or you go to maybe a fantasy convention or a tabletop role playing game, it's just the nature of the beast. These things came out of the West, and that's who likes them. So it's not we're not going to say, hey, Japanese guy, we're not going to let you in or anything like that. That's not even close to what you send us. A good story, I don't care what you are, we'll publish it.
Yeah, I really feel frustrated that I even have to point that out, but this is such as the world today. Before we were recording this video, I was working on another video looking at the H.P. Lovecraft Film Festival, where they are basically, to give a long story short, I don't want to spoil my upcoming video, but basically if you want to submit a film to these people, you have to, typically if you submit a film, you have to pay a small fee, right? Because they have to process it, screening, and it'll cost something. They actively state on their website, if you are, and I hate this term, BIPOC, Black, Indigenous, Person of Color, you do not have to pay this fee for processing. If you are a white person, you have to pay the fee. And they state very clearly on their website that they are against systemic racism. And this, I'm afraid, because I'm just mentioning this because you brought up these festivals that we have. And this is, I've looked at the Historical Society as well. And also the Necronomicon, and I'm sorry to say, but they're infected, to put it in one way or another. And
well, we have to keep in mind that Lovecraft, when it comes to publishing, and I call it fempub, because if you go to a convention with a lot of these like big publishing companies, like every single booth that you see will be some kind of soy boy, or it's going to be some like dumpy box frame glasses cat lady with stinky breath, right? This is who runs it top to bottom, are these types of harpies. So they have to inject their ridiculous, egregious ideas into this, and for them, the great big bad guy in all of literature is Lovecraft. They hate him. The reason that they even get involved with these Lovecraft conventions or these Lovecraft film festivals or whatever is to subvert his legacy. Subvert his legacy. And they pride themselves on doing this. Every depiction that they have of him, they make him look ridiculous. They're terrible. You know what I mean? It's you know, I don't know. It really upsets me. I like to pretend that it's not there. You know.
Yeah. But I'm afraid it's just, we're living in this world where someone posted a comment when I did a poll. Should I even do a video on this issue? And then they said, to ignore cancer is to let it grow. That type of thing.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
We should start our own.
Well, that's exactly what you're doing, right? So this is such a great move. This is why we're talking and everything, and why I'm so eager to promote you and your company, basically. You mentioned earlier that we should discuss this a little bit later. Big publishing troubles. So you're a small publisher. What are the big publishing troubles exactly?
It's trying to get it all done on time. That is probably, a lot of people don't realize putting a book together is a lot of work. It really truly is. You have to slush read all of the submissions. You have to select the submissions. You then have to send it over to editing, and it has to get edited by a few people. You can't just have one editor because they miss things. You know what I mean? You got to think in a book, when there's 30, 40, 50,000 words, it's pretty easy to miss a handful of words when you're looking through 50,000 words. So you got to have a few people. You have a few set of eyeballs looking at it. After that, you send it over to interior layout. Then in interior layout, more things can go wrong, and they have to take their time. And interior layout it can be a very tedious process, right? You have to page by page put the words how you wanted to put them. And if there's hundreds of pages, you're doing hundreds of things, right? And then you have to pay for the art. You have to wait for the art to get done. And then you have to do cover layout. You have to lay out the cover, make sure it's all the right dimensions. And then depending on how you're doing with publishing, whether you're going through a self-publishing print-on-demand service, or if you're doing old school way and doing traditional print runs through a print shop, it's a big process, and it's a lot of work. And I'm very, very blessed. The Bizarchives is very, very blessed that we have a whole crew of just great guys. But these guys, because of us being indie, we're not giving guys living salaries, right? Hopefully, I pray one day we can. But making a few $100 a month or whatever is not enough to quit your day job, especially when you have kids and everything. So you have to balance your side work with your publishing endeavors, with your day job and your kids and your family and your religious community if you have one, and all. You know what I mean? You have to balance it all out. So to get these things out on time and meet the reader's demands is tough. It's a lot of work, but it's worth it. It's totally worth it.
Yeah, I think so, definitely. And nonetheless, to get rewarded, no matter how small it is, for something you created out of love and passion, it's really nice. Even if you take what you earn and you go buy yourself a nice bottle of wine or something and just sit back and think, okay, now the next step. It's a very rewarding process, I'd imagine. Well,
and then I would say, outside of that, marketing. Marketing is probably the tough. I had an advantage, considering I already had an audience for my podcasts and everything. I'm already sort of a known commodity, so I was going to make some sales, right? But like, I think the average self-published author sells something like what was it? It was like 50 books in the entirety of their lifespan, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's like
Yeah.
these guys, they put out a book, and there's like, that's average, right? That's average. And this is getting averaged out with guys that sell thousands and thousands and thousands of copies.
Yeah.
So if you don't have some sort of social media presence, a lot of guys, and I've talked to a lot of guys that are self-published authors, they put out a book, and a few of their family members buy it, maybe a couple coworkers, and if they're lucky, they'll sell a dozen books. And then it just falls in. And if you don't sell enough books, the Amazon algorithm doesn't pick you up, or the Barnes & Noble algorithm doesn't pick you up. You don't get to go on the shelves or anything like that. And also getting a lot of authors going into it, they really want to be put on shelves in these big box stores. But what they don't realize is it's sort of a ripoff. It's sort of a ripoff. If you put your books, like let's say you Barnes & Noble, for example. Barnes & Noble, they will order X amount of books from you. And you're like, oh, wow, I sold this many books. And they say they buy 100 books from you. They put them on the shelves. They let them sit, and they don't promote them. They're among a sea of thousands of other books. And they start to collect dust. And then months or maybe even years later, they send them back. And who has to pay for that? You do. So you, out of nowhere, you get hit with this bill for all of these books that got sent back, and that includes like shipping and everything like that. I have not gone through that, but that is what I've been told from other indie publishers that have gone through it. So when we try to get on, when the Bizarchives goes on shelves, it is literally me cold calling or getting called by guys that run small stores. And they buy, 5, 10, dozen, sometimes 20 or 30 copies. And then I don't hear from them again for another 8 months or whatever. And then they buy another 10. So it's not getting on store shelves is cool, and it looks good. And it's certainly cool to get out there if you can do it, you have it. But in order to find these stores, you have to cold call a bunch, because most stores that you call up are just going to not be interested. Especially if you're self-published. If you're self-published, you go through Amazon or like Ingram Spark or something like that. They're going to be like, no thanks. Or they're just going to just tell you no thanks as a whole, because there's just tons of other self-published authors that call you up. So the best way, in my opinion, to get through all of this, if you are an author that wants to get out there, is think about being an author the same way that you would think about like a musician. When you start out as a musician, I used to be a musician, so still am, I guess. But when you're starting out playing music, you don't get to headline. You play at the dive bar once in a while, and you open up for the local big act. And after you open up, however many times, and you sell enough CDs. And I don't even know if they use CDs anymore, but if you sell enough CDs and band shirts, and you get your name out there, you get enough clout, you get enough recognition. They're like, hey, why don't you play the number 2 or number 3 spot? And then after so much time, you get to headline. You get to be the big dog at the show, and then you can move to the next level and go do different cities. And it's a big process. And this is how you do it as an author. You want to reach out to a company like the Bizarchives, or like Cursova, or even somebody like DMR Books or Aegeon, or like one of the other really cool indie publishers, and say, hey, here's my submission. Just get them the submission. Send them 2, 3 at a time. Make sure they're as clean as possible. There's no reason at all for them to reject it just by looking at it. And then once you get into the compilations a few times with your short form, and you get some recognition for your writing, then you can come out with some novellas and some stuff, and then you can build up to the novels. And it's the same thing as anything else. You got to work your way up. Yeah. So I kind of went on a tangent there, but I hope that helps authors out there.
Yeah. Oh no, this energy it's infectious. Frankly, it makes me want to go really go jump onto my work that I've been writing. So a question I'm thinking now is, where do you want Bizarchives to be in imagine 5 years time? What is the goal for 5 years time for Bizarchives?
Well, I want Bizarchives to be as successful as possible. I have a fantasy in my head that I'm going to buy I'm gonna either get a souped up '86 Chevy Caprice, or I'm gonna buy a Denali, and that's gonna be my Pulp Bucks. I finally made it. That's gonna be like my Tony Soprano's Escalade, right? So that's what I want to do. I want to be successful. I want, and it's not all about the money, but I want not just to enrich my family and enrich those around me. I want to make waves in the art form, and I want to inspire a bunch of other indie publications to come up and rise up, so we can have this big giant movement of pulp awakening, like the rise of pulp. And I want to bring pulp back and bring it to, it's not going to be exactly how it was back then, because we can't really,
it's a different time now.
It's a different time. It's going to look different. It's going to be different. But I want our version of pulp today, because I want to make reading cool again. I want to make reading fun again. And I want to make it imaginative and weird and spooky and heroic and masculine and badass and cool. And I want to make my mark, not just my mark, our mark. I want to make our mark on literature, on art, on all of these things. So that's my greatest fear in life, is to pass from this world and leave no mark. So I want to leave a mark. I want to make a little bit of money while I'm doing it.
Yeah, I think it's absolutely true that a man, I guess for a woman too, but I'm speaking as men. We're speaking as men here. A man needs something greater than himself to strive for, and to almost sacrifice himself towards his goal to find a sort of sense of fulfillment. Yeah.
And it's like I mentioned before, I grew up working class. I come from a single mother household. I did not get anything, right? I grew up poor white trash. I want to leave my kids something that they can be proud of, that they can open it and they can be like, my dad did this. My dad wrote this. I can leave them a legacy, and I can leave them a little bit of money that will help them, so they don't have to go through the crap that I went through. So this is what I want to do, and I believe in this. And I love it, and I think the sky's the limit for all of us in this thing, and not just me, the Bizarchives, or you, Damien, but all your audience out there, because I know I read your comments, man. Your audience is so passionate about this, the way that they love the Lovecraft stuff, and their knowledge, like half these guys in the comment section, their knowledge surpasses mine, and I publish this stuff. So it's like, it's just, we have a very bright future, but it's going to require a lot of work. And we might not have the money and the financial backing. We have to remember, we talked about Disney and Netflix and all of these guys, these big pubs, all these guys. The financial backing that's behind them, they have infinite money, right? They have like hedge funds. They use usury. They use all this kind of stuff. They pretty much just have this wide, vast bank account, endless money. We don't have that luxury. We can't outspend them, but we can outwork them. And we can make better art than they can, because the stuff that they make isn't just like paused and full of political garbage. It's just not good. It's just bad.
Yeah, that is true. Even if you strip away the official narratives that is often shoved into what they are producing, it's objectively bad art. And I don't think that's really coming from people that don't have necessarily the financial interests on the line. I mean, Disney with their Star Wars, I mean, I don't know why I keep bringing up Star Wars, I'm not really a fan, but they were thinking of the bottom line first and foremost there, and it turned out like garbage. And then you look at fan films, I think, like on YouTube, and you see the passion there. I think that perfectly encapsulates the spirit. And you mentioned my audience as well. It's kind of funny, because YouTube has this reputation for being the comment sections are not really pleasant, and a lot of bigger YouTubers can have their audience turn into an echo chamber. But I really don't see that with the people that I'm dealing with, my subscribers and whatnot, and also the affiliates, like people on your channels and such. It's a very different atmosphere, and I really think that this is a case of all the pieces are there. We just need to put them in the right order, and then you got it. that's really the spirit I'm feeling when it comes to our communities here. People into writing, creating. You know, I have people on my channel who are making short films, making their own comics, this type of stuff. So the pieces are there. I truly believe that. I'm coming as a cynical person here in general. The pieces are there, and yeah.
Yeah, we can do it. We can do it. It's you know, Lovecraft isn't going to be writing anything new, unfortunately.
No, sadly not.
Yeah, but we have to keep in mind that Lovecraft was a genius, right?
Yeah.
He was like, in my
No
opinion, and you know, this is just my opinion. Lovecraft is like, it's hard to say between him and Howard. I believe those two guys are like the greatest writers of all time.
Not just your opinion, sir. Believe me.
I know a lot of
many of us are nodding our heads right now.
Yeah, they were just unbelievable. And we got to keep in mind also that those guys, they didn't get any love from the big pub either. They were lowly smut authors. They were lowly dime authors, right? They made pulp magazine, right? They weren't the Hemingways. They weren't the Steinbecks. They weren't the Fitzgeralds. They didn't have the nod. They didn't kiss the ring of academia. They wrote weird stuff for bros and for regular people. And you know what? Who really changed the game? They did. They did. And we're in the same position today. Much of what we're going through now, especially with this economic stuff that's going on, is not too much different than what our very recent ancestors went through in the Great Depression during the time period of pulp. So if they can do it, we can do it. And from our collective effort, the next Lovecraft will arise, I believe. So, just get involved with the scene, get involved with the community, support your local indie publisher, and just get involved, because it's fun, and it's wholesome, and it's great.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it's also just fun to create. It's fulfilling. We're wrapping up here a little bit soon, but to give some inspiration.
If you want to go for a little longer, I can. I'm available.
Great. Yeah. Okay, let's go a little bit longer then. I have a few more things in my head that I'd like to talk. I was going to say that you are a bit of a creator yourself, and you created the character, the monster of a man, Lucius Lex.
Yep.
Which definitely has some Conan feels. And I read your story in the first edition of the Bizarchives, and I was struck by your character who, you know, it seemed like he was going one way. I won't spoil the story too much, but this is a character who just does not give a damn.
Yeah.
I was the twist at the end where he's just, no, I'm taking the horse, I'm going. And the brother comes. Okay, I'm spoiling it or whatever. People go read the story, but I mean the brother comes there at the knife of the rescued sister, and he's just like, "No, I'm gonna punch your teeth in. I'm taking your horse. Adios."
Yeah, you know? That's what he was going for the whole time. Yeah. Lucius Lex.
Tell us how you came up with this character, because I can see this is sort of a passion project that you've got there, this Lucius Lex character, sort of like the Conan to Robert E. Howard, or perhaps the Randolph Carter to Lovecraft. Tell us about Lucius Lex.
So Lucius Lex, he's kind of like Bizarchives Conan. I wanted to create a character that was sort of I wanted to make the Conan for the Warhammer 40k era, because Warhammer 40k and Grimdark and all that stuff, that's kind of like the new cosmic horror for a lot of young guys. So I wanted to make a character that was sort of a blend between Conan and Solomon Kane, two of Robert E. Howard's two characters. And he's part of this world. I actually have a tabletop role-playing game that's going to be coming out sometime. And the game's called Grim Earth, and it has this setting called Grim Earth. And Grim Earth is this very grim, bleak, dark place. The people that live there have civilization has fallen, and they kind of are at the mercy of this haunted world with all of these half the lords are all are despots or just tyrants. And
is it set in California or what?
Yeah. In Los Angeles, yeah. Yeah. But he the people are at the mercy of the evils of this world, and Lucius Lex is like their hope. He is mankind's monster. He is this big, hulking, mean, mysterious, powerful man, this absolute mountain of a man, and he hunts and destroys and rains suffering upon the demons and the monsters that hurt mankind. He is he's a little bit of a sociopath. He can be a good guy. He's not a bad guy, but he is certainly an anti-hero. He never met his father, but because his father died in this great cataclysm, this great crusade against the demonic forces, and he inherited his father's armor, and he is part of this lineage, this blood lineage of this like knightly priestly order called the Tavarian Order, and it goes back. Nobody even remembers where it started. Right? It was this kind of this lineage of passing down of practice and praxis of the Tavarian tradition, and which is just to be a knight and to hunt and destroy that which is evil. And that's what he does. And he says in a lot of his stories, he says, "I am the last of the Tavarian Order," and he is. He's the only guy. He's not a nice looking guy. He's got kind of a hunchback. He's missing teeth. He's kind of ugly. He's picture like what was that? I don't really watch the show, but the Hound. Picture the Hound from Game of Thrones with the body of the Big Show from WWF.
Oh, Big Show, okay. Big Show, I know, but Game of Thrones I never really followed.
Yeah. So picture a guy that's like 7 feet tall, plate mail armor, wields a mace and a shield, and he has some strange magic that he can wield, and his whole thing. And when the Lex and the Lost Girl, the first story you're talking about, I really wanted to set what Lex is about. And he just charges out of nowhere. He doesn't need to be talked to, anything. He hears a girl screaming. He comes running, and he just absolutely brutalizes this werewolf demon type monster, blows its skull out, pulverizes it. The lady is all chewed up. He heals her with his magic. And here's part of the Lucius Lex thing, is that Lucius Lex has been in so many battles that his body has he's not invincible. He's not Superman. So he gets stabbed up, he gets chopped up, he gets hurt, and he heals himself. But the problem is his healing magic doesn't completely return him to 100%. It doesn't make him like he was before. It just mends the muscles and like it in the torn flesh. So he has a lot of scarification. His life is effectively just constant pain, and he uses that as fuel, as hatred for that which is evil in the world. And the two stories that are in the Bizarchives 2, you have Lex and the Horror of Bernwick Hollows, and you have Lex and the Odd Village, and Lex is actually going to be featured on Bizarchives 3 with his story Lex Conquers Hell.
Oh, Jesus. Okay. You have high aspirations for this character, conquering hell.
Yup, he conquers hell. Sorta.
So the tone of the Bizarchives is really going, it's not just the cosmic horror type of thing. And I think that really reflects also how it was back in the day with the weird tales.
Yup.
So, to people watching, I know if you're on my channel, it's for the cosmic horror stuff. But feel free to submit, a wide range of sort of fiction. Just always check out the website at thebizarchives.com as to the publishing guidelines, what you're looking for, that type of thing. But yeah, I think it's something that's really going to appeal to everyone there.
Yeah, we we got some sci-fi in there. Actually, I write sci-fi myself. We got heroic fantasy. We got a little bit of everything, which is what Weird Tales was. Weird Tales wasn't just cosmic horror.
Yeah, true.
Weird Tales was like witness ghost stories in there. There was supernatural horror. There was fantasy. There was weird fiction. Incorporates pretty much everything that's a little bit offbeat and psychedelic and strange.
Yeah.
And that's what I wanted to do. I didn't want to just, although like I said, cosmic horror is my favorite, and that's what we kind of model ourselves after. That's kind of what we're looking for. But we just want cool, weird stories, and that also, there's so many genres that weren't around back then that now are just so cool. Cyberpunk, for example, there's a lot of really gritty, out there, strange cyberpunk. Bizarchives 4 is going to feature some stories that could be described in the genre of biopunk, some really kind of weird body horror, sci-fi, mad science kind of stuff. So whatever you concoct, you guys out there listening, whatever genre you want to write in that's a little bit weird, a little bit out there, a little spooky or whatever, send it my way. Let's do it.
Yeah, and I'll just list that you can find all the details down in the video description below, where you can support the Bizarchives, where you can apply, submit your stories and whatnot. So always check out the video description below. Yeah. What else? Let's just have some fun and talk about inspirations. Like, I'm sure I'm taking a guess here, but you don't really enjoy the modern media of today, right?
No,
I mean, I can't imagine you sitting down with a big bowl of popcorn to watch the latest regurgitation of whatever Marvel is producing.
No, I liked superheroes as a kid. Like, I read the X-Men comics and stuff like that. But as an adult, I have absolutely zero interest. I think that the superhero trope was a flash in the pan and didn't have any longevity. And to be fair, now we're talking pulp. The superheroes that we see today are pretty much just plagiarisms of pulp heroes. So, Doc Savage is a big one that just got completely ripped off in the early days. To give you guys an example, Doc Savage was the Man of Bronze. He lived at the top of the Empire State Building. He had a crew called the Fabulous Five, and they would meet at the Fortress of Solitude. So it's like these early pulp heroes, him, Captain Future, Buck Rogers, Flash Gordon, these guys got completely plagiarized by the early Marvel and DC writers, and I'm not a fan. I really prefer the old pulp heroes.
And when it comes to film, do you have any favorites that you turn to?
I'm very particular with film. So probably my favorite stuff. Obviously, I love the Lord of the Rings trilogy. I'm a big fan of that. My favorite movie of all time is probably Conan the Barbarian. I like Conan the Barbarian. The Thing is a big one for me.
Oh God, yes.
I absolutely. Oh man, The Thing is great. I really like. Let me think. I love the John Carpenter films. Speaking of The Thing, I like They Live. The first Halloween movie. I like a lot of 80s action movies. I'm a big fan of Arnold and Stallone and those guys, obviously. Yeah. Every guy likes them. I'm a huge fan of old school Western animation. Movies like Gandahar, Heavy Metal, Fire and Ice, these kinds of things. Which, by the way, tomorrow we're going to be recording my podcast, Culture Dads. That's what we're going to be talking about, is those Western animated films. I like. Let me think. I'm a huge fan of The Godfather. I love Godfather.
There we go.
Yeah, I don't know. I like older stuff. I don't really get into any of the new. There are a few newer films I thought were good. I thought Annihilation was good. I thought Extinction was good. I thought. Let me think here. The only series that I really got into recently was what was it called? Had Uhtred of Bebbanburrow and all that. The Last Kingdom. I like that. I don't like Game of Thrones. I think Game of Thrones is gross.
Sopranos?
Oh yeah, don't. Now we're talking. Sopranos.
My guy. Yeah,
I've seen
it's kind.
Sopranos probably 4 or 5 times.
Yeah, it's kind of a meme how whatever video I do, I somehow manage to put in some Sopranos clip.
I've
God,
noticed.
I love it. I love
Yup,
it.
yup. I love that series is probably the best series ever made. It
Yeah,
was just so genius. The characters were hilarious. They they were they were caricatures of, as somebody that I'm from Pennsylvania. I lived in South Jersey. My wife is from South Jersey.
yeah,
I mean, I know what the East Coast is like.
yeah.
There's not that many people that are like looking like Paulie Walnut. Not too many guys looking like Paulie Walnuts over here. Forget about it, you know.
Oh,
But oh, hey, forget about it.
hey,
What are you, breaking balls or what?
we're just breaking balls here.
But
Uh,
they made them kind of over the top, but they were great at the same time. I could talk all day about Sopranos. I love Sopranos.
yeah, maybe we should do a podcast just about the Sopranos.
Oh, I would be there. You let me know.
Absolutely, absolutely. What did you think of the Many Saints in Newark?
Trash. I thought it was trash.
Yeah,
I didn't like it. I thought there was like a couple of redeeming qualities about it, but overall, I thought it sucked.
yeah,
I thought Tony Soprano's son was cool. Seeing him on screen was very cool. Ray Liotta, of course, was very good. But overall, I thought it was kind of cartoonish and cheap, and I thought the story
yeah.
sucked.
Yeah, and the funny thing is that it was made by David Chase, who, well, he produced it or directed it. I forget. I think he produced it, right?
Yeah.
But I don't know. It's just call me crazy or conspiracy theorist. But although he made The Sopranos, and it's from his masterful mind that we have the series, Many Saints in Newark are just it's just no. And you kind of see this with many creators from the old days who are still doing so. It's just, I don't know, it just feels like everything's off in this century. There's no other way I can feel it, that I can really express it. It's just, I don't know, it's like a virus or something spread in the world. I'm not talking about C-19, it's just the media that we are seeing today. It's just, we are in an era where for the vast majority, it's just something that is not right. And I'm not talking like I'm some old boomer or something. I mean, for God's sake, we're in our 30s here, huh?
Yeah. I am the 30-year-old boomer. I am the guy. I yell at clouds. I'm a grill dad. I'm unapologetically. I think that the new stuff sucks, and if anything good that does come out generally comes from indie stuff. So I think some of it has to do with these guys that were great that aren't as great now, the directors and stuff like that. It's like the first Metallica album was great, and then like the first 3 albums were great, but once they started getting rich and comfortable, their albums started to blow. It's like that. It's when you're hungry and you're young and there's a little bit of tragedy and suffering. From this comes good art, right?
Yeah.
And then once you're comfortable and everything, you don't really have that hunger and that thirst anymore. And I mean, for God's sakes, George Lucas just like sold his life's work, just like sold it. You know what I mean? Not giving it to his kids. You know, if I was him, I would have clung on to that like a bull until I died, right? And then I'd be like, the only people allowed to make Star Wars forever are people that are directly part of my patrilineal lineage. You know what I mean? So if your name's not Lucas, you don't get to make a Star Wars film. That would have been me, but he just like sold it. Like he just doesn't even care about it. He just wanted the money. And I don't think that and I'm not a big George Lucas guy, but to think that the guy that made like A New Hope is the guy that sold Star Wars is strange to me. But it's also like we're talking about the industries and everything. The industries don't want anything coming out that's too against their narrative or has too much uniqueness. It's just the nature of the age. It's the wolf age. It's an age of confusion. We're now in what I would call, what a lot of people call hypermodernity, where we're not attached to reality as much anymore. I mean, for God's sake, me and you are talking over Skype right now. Like everybody viewing is watching. 40 years ago, if we wanted to do this, we had to all gather at the bar together, or somebody's living room, or it's
Yeah.
just the nature of the age in the technosphere.
Yeah, but it also feels like there's a bit of a loss of spirit there in a way. I just can't describe it. Yeah.
Certainly.
Yeah. Speaking of spirituality, Dave Martel is big into how should I call it? I want to use the correct term. Asatru?
Yeah. Yes. I am. I have been practicing also true for 13 years. I'm a member of the heathen community, the folk faith community. I have been for, like I said, that many years. I have run an organization, a small one, very small local organization, for about 10 years. And, it's who I am. It's my identity. It's why I create things. It's who I am.
Yeah. Would you say that in this day and age there is a complete lack of spirituality, or spirituality only in a very commercial sense? I don't know. I mean, in the sense that people don't really take it seriously.
Yeah, absolutely. This is a time of insincerity. This is a time where you can go to pretty much any church now, and they have all like bent a knee to the new world religion, which is liberal humanism, right?
Yeah.
Everywhere you go to a Buddhist temple, you go to a Catholic church, you go to a Protestant church, you go to wherever, they're going to have rainbow flags. They're going to be talking all this hippy dippy, the world's all together stuff. It's all in lockstep. The world, the entirety of the world has bent a knee to liberal humanism. That is the new world religion. The problem is that these religions, they if they were to be practiced in their purest form, they would be completely incompatible with modernity and liberal humanism. And I find that in my faith, being an Alsatruer, that this worldwide progressivism, the step into transhumanism, cultural universalism, and all this kind of stuff is at odds with how I practice my faith, and it's just the way that it is. And the problem is that we treat everything because of capitalism, because of modernity, because of how the modern world is. We treat everything like it's a fast food cheeseburger, right? You got guys that jump in, they play around with it, and then when they're bored with it, they crumple it up like a McDouble wrapper and huck it on the side of the road. And they do that with everything. Modern people do this with everything, not just their faith. They do this with their family and their friendships. They do this with everything. Just like a couple weeks ago, one of my friends became like a social justice warrior out of nowhere, and came at me and said a bunch of nasty stuff to me and blocked me on social media. And me and him have been friends. Our friendship, been friends since ninth grade. I'm 34. 20 years. You know what I mean? And it stings and it hurts, but this is the nature of it. Our friendship meant nothing to him. It was inconvenient for him now. So he crumpled me up like a McDouble wrapper and hucked me to the side. And in my faith, loyalty is probably our greatest virtue. To break a promise, to break an oath, we consider promises, we call them oaths, to be like our holiest thing, right?
Yeah.
Your friends are your friends for life. Friendship is regarded as one of the highest things. So to me, like a relationship, a friendship with somebody is worth more than all of the treasure on the planet. So I put that into everything that I do, and I do it in opposition, in rebellion against the fickle and superficial nature of modernity. So yeah, I would agree completely. I would say that most people have no spirituality, and if they do have, they claim to have spirituality, it's usually nothing more than a few emojis on their Twitter bio.
Yeah, and the thing is that it really seems like it is something that is necessary in the human spirit, because as you said, a lot of these people have taken this globo homo, should we call it,
Yeah,
as the new religion. So it's almost proving itself that people need something to believe in, something to have faith in, even if it is the state or some globalist ideology or something that they can just give blind faith to. I guess we've seen this as well in the days of Corona, because now we don't have days of Corona anymore. Now it's the days of Ukraine, as we all know.
Ukraine was the current thing, and now the current thing is the abortion stuff, which we're seeing these abortionist people like firebombing pro-life centers and graffitiing churches, and obviously me being a pagan, I have my opinions and my disagreements with Christianity, but I have reverence for the sacred, and I have respect for people that have a relationship with the divine, and for these people that are going and defacing like sacred places for their politics, it irks my stomach. It makes me sick. You know what I mean? But I agree with you. And unfortunately, Mr. Lovecraft, he was a materialist. But if you read further into Lovecraft, he was kind of a self-hating materialist. He spoke very highly of the. He was a classicist, right? He very much adored the polytheism of ancient Greece and stuff like that. And he said in quite a few letters that he believed that people should still believe that instead of what they had then. But I digress. I do think that for folks out there that feel some kind of emptiness or have some kind of void, that spirituality has been part of who we are for thousands and thousands of years, and I would suggest getting involved with the community and getting in touch with the faith, to have faith in something that is greater than you, right? What is the dogma of liberal humanism? As Nietzsche said God is dead, but this wasn't, a lot of people don't understand what he was talking about with this. What he's talking about is that because of technological society, modern society, they no longer have a use for God. So instead, they've abandoned God, and liberal humanism is man placing himself upon the throne of God. The highest ideal for liberal humanism is man in his condition, and this has really, really terrifying implications and consequences that we're seeing play out today. We have become architects of a perverse nature, right? Because we are upon the throne of God, and our condition and our comfort are now the highest ideal. We now no longer view ourselves as a cog in the grand machine of the natural world. And when I say natural world, I don't necessarily mean physical, material Earth. When I say natural world, I mean all of immanent reality, all of reality and the immanential processes therein. So what has happened is man now views himself to be above nature. He is now detached from nature. He believes that he has conquered nature. So what does he do is he enslaves nature. A lot of people, when they watch stuff like National Geographic or whatever, they see these beautiful herds of wild buffaloes stampeding across the plains and everything like that. Here's the reality of the situation. There's about, I think last I checked, there was like 30,000 wild buffalo on the entire planet. There's 1.5 billion domesticated cows. The overwhelming majority of the Earth's population are now man and the servants of man that have been genetically altered through husbandry and domestication to serve man and make him more comfortable. So we have through our industries, through our agriculture, have completely destroyed the ecological system, and now we are going into a time where man is going to start changing himself. We're getting into transhumanism. We are going to approach an age where, this is what I mean, I don't know if you want me to get into this I don't want to get your channel in trouble or anything like that.
No, speak freely. So I value more than anything. I don't buy this self-censorship. Speak freely, man.
Okay, thank you. Well, my theory is that they pushed this the C-19 thing to sneak in this RNA shot, right? This RNA shot that monkeys with your RNA, your genetic code. And what they're going to do is they're going to use this as a slippery slope to effectively get into gene editing, right? When they get into gene editing, they're going to first say, hey, the mRNA shot worked. Let's go into your DNA and let's get rid of C-19 completely. Let's make people immune to this. We got rid of C-19. Let's get rid of cancer. Let's get rid of autism. Let's get rid of Down syndrome. Let's get rid of spina bifida. Let's get these out of our genetic code. And what's going to happen from here is people are going to be like, okay, well, we can edit out those things. Let's start editing our children, right? I want my baby to be 6'5". I want my baby to have blue eyes. I want my baby to look like this, X, Y, Z. And this is a slippery slope that is going to lead with two different, effectively phenotypical examples of humanity. This is going to be a genetic divergence, a species divergence, if you will. And you're going to have these genetically altered, effectively superhumans and naturals that can't afford to get this sort of editing. So what is going to happen? Look how we treat farm pigs. Look how we treat chickens. Look how we treat domesticated cows. We pump them full of hormones. We take their babies away from them until they scream and commit suicide. We literally treat these animals like garbage because we presuppose materialism and we think that the only thing that these creatures need is food, water, nutrition, and a place that can stay sanitary. That we don't consider the fact that these creatures have emotional needs. Right? They have needs to be with their piglets or their calves or whatever. They have needs that are beyond just eat, drink, sleep, be clean. And what's going to happen? Look at how we treat these creatures without any sort of. And I'm not some sort of hippy dippy vegan or whatever like that. But how we treat animals in commercial farming is wrong. And our ancestors back in the day that made their livelihood by conquering and plundering and doing all this would probably look at how we treat animals and think that we're a bunch of sickos. So look at that and imagine how the genetically altered new superhumans are going to treat naturals once they are on the throne of God. It's very, very scary to think about. And this is the end result of liberal humanism, is this false technological apotheosis where a man tries to transcend his natural form and fabricate himself as a god.
Yeah. This is something that I think it sounds like science fiction. That's the thing. Like, if you tell this type of thing to people, the average Joe Normie, it does sound like science fiction. That's because it is, in a way, in that we see it in certain films, like, we have Elysium, I think it was with Matt Damon, when there was two tiers of people like this. There was also a film called, I think it was called Gattaca, where you could choose, as you said, how do you want your child to be, and then you get the children who are pure raced, pure, they have no defects, everything you can choose. I want a child 6 foot, blue eyes, and very good at basketball, or something like this. And then also, perhaps, The Time Machine by H.G. Wells. Now, I haven't read it, but I believe the story goes that he goes into the future, the character, and then there's like two races. One is dominant, like the... you might have to help me here if you know the story.
I haven't read it either.
No, well, there was two races. One was sort of like these repugnant, earth-dwelling, monstrous-looking creatures. I think they were called the Moloi or something like it. And then you had these enlightened beings. And then the thing is that in the Time Machine, they went forward in time, and this is where the split happened. But previously, they came from the same race. So this idea is not foreign at all in the minds of humans. It's just that it's a boiling frog situation, frankly, the way I see it. I mean, all you have to do is spend 5 minutes looking at what the World Economic Forum talks about, and, you kind of want to, end it all. I mean, living comfortably, the way you described, this is what I was thinking when the way you were describing the treatment of animals. They just need to be fed, housed, that's it. That's good enough. And then I recently saw a headline by the World Economic Forum that said the way of the future is renting little domiciles, apartments, right? And this is also going to solve racism somehow.
Yeah, you're gonna live in a pod and eat bugs.
Yeah, enjoy the bugs, bigot. Yeah, that type of thing.
Yup.
Jesus Christ, but
yeah. Another good story that references this, Brave New World.
Yeah, of course, yeah. It just seems like we are stuck in a tragic mix of Brave New World, 1984, and Animal Farm, I guess.
Yeah.
It can be extremely blackpilling. I mean, but the destiny of humanity is really hard to say, because I mean you have this hope that things will turn back, but I don't know. It kind of turns into a Lovecraftian nightmare, because I'm recalling the story He by Lovecraft, where the character, blatantly Lovecraft, he self-inserted all the time. He's wandering around New York, and he was not impressed with New York, to say the least. Very modern. And then he meets this magician who shows him through the window into the future, and basically what he sees makes him faint with disgust and horror. And I don't know, this is the kind of feeling I have as well. I guess maybe you too, in a way.
Yeah, absolutely. It's pretty spooky stuff, and the guys back then that were writing about this kind of thing, and they've been writing about this for a long, long time. And you seem to think, and I did a whole show called the Mythopoetics of Science Fiction, and I'm not a fan of what I call progressive sci-fi, Star Trek, Star Wars, these kinds of science fictions where the future is great and we have gay space communism and like you know what I mean, like
I know,
we get to print out all our food and everybody lives in harmony. I don't like that kind of stuff. Foundation is another one I think sucks. I like the old pulp sci-fi where mad scientists went out of control. A good one, one of Lovecraft's I would call science fiction, Herbert West Reanimator, right?
Yeah.
This is like, you have to wonder, and not just wonder, we know there's people that admitted this, whether or not science fiction is influencing this stuff or it was prophesized, right? It's almost like a prophecy. If you read, for example, what was it? William Gibson, Neuromancer. If you read Neuromancer is like an incredible book. Really puts on display a lot of this stuff. And he was like coining phrases like what do you call it? I can't remember it off the top of my head right now. But he coined phrases that we use today. There's another book called Snow Crash that was literally about people. He was literally describing a Facebook metaverse where you go and you buy virtual apartment spaces with virtual currency, effectively cryptocurrency, right?
Yeah.
So it's like it's really crazy buying virtual art, NFTs. We're seeing that now. So a lot of this early fiction stuff, you have to wonder. Like I said, you don't wonder because there are guys at Microsoft and guys at Facebook and guys wherever. They said that they were directly influenced by William Gibson and Neuromancer and Snow Crash and these kinds of guys. But unfortunately, they didn't see that it was a warning. They are so maniacal and sociopathic that they looked at it as inspiration to create the nightmares in these stories.
An instruction manual, not a warning, huh?
Yeah, exactly.
That sadly seems to be the way things go, but it's important not to get yourself black-pilled, I think. Just taking this all in, just thinking that life is hopeless. And I know it can be overwhelming sometimes, but also not just turning to escapism, which is fun every now and then, yes, but also self-improvement. And I think that's also the mindset that went into Bizarchives, right? Sort of like do it yourself, build yourself up, be strong.
Exactly. That's we were talking about faith. I'm a man of faith. I have great faith that the gods who are the most powerful beings in the universe are on our side. They're on the side of the good. And, when the cataclysm comes, that we will win. Goodness always wins. The bad guys always lose. And we have to remember that this takes a long time and our lifespans are very, very short. And we have to keep in mind that because they are short, they are precious, and that the gods gave us effectively the greatest gift ever, and that is to be able to live on this beautiful planet and to experience all the human experience itself, which is like the greatest video game with all of the DLCs. This great sandbox, right? You get to love and taste and laugh and hate and feel pain and feel all of these things until it is your time to pass over to the next world. And your time here is very short and very precious, and you should seize it with all fervor, right? You put all your cards on the table always, because you never know when it's going to be over. You don't know what your fate is going to be, right? I'm a believer in fate. We call it Urlog. So, that's what I believe. So when I do Bizarchives, I look at it as this isn't even just my choice. I don't. I mean, obviously, I'm a human being. I get black pilled too, but I don't. I try not to think about it. I just bury my head in my work. Let's do. Let's create. Let's make. Let's change. Let's do this. And it's infectious. You know, it's especially nowadays where guys, like I mentioned before, it very much reflects what our recent ancestors went through in the Great Depression. You got guys, I don't know what it's like over there in Europe, but here in the United States, you got guys that are working hours that are just unbelievable. Housing costs are through the roof. We're looking at a gas shortage. It's tough right now, man. It's just people are going through this kind of stuff. So instead of just being a grinding wage slave that buries your head in Netflix or porn or whatever of these like really cancerous types of stuff, do something, create something, make something, and it'll inspire others. And before you know it, you'll have this community of guys that are all working together, and it's just so much fun. But you are, like I said before, if you don't do it, they will. And what they will do is make a mockery of what you love. You have a spiritual obligation to create. The gods create. Yeah. And they imbued with us that force.
No, that's really the note there. That's I've really been feeling lately, and seeing it in some other creators who have decided that, no, fuck it, we're gonna create our own, and it's just succeeding. I think there's a hunger for it and a general malaise for what we are being fed.
Yeah,
we're being fed so we don't starve, but we're not exactly dining, are we?
And I would suggest for guys that might be feeling down and want to kind of make there's a really great book. My guy that I'm pretty friendly with, that I really, really respect, Marcus Folan, the Golden One, wrote a book.
Dauntless.
Yep. He wrote a book.
I read it.
Oh, how'd you like it?
I loved it. I think it is absolute a must read. I like his approach that it's basically I think he marketed it as sort of an instruction manual for life to achieve greatness. And this is the type of thing that I really think it is solid, basic grassroots advice that is frankly very rare. Okay. But the things he's telling you is simple enough. Like, be an honorable man, train in gym. He stresses that a lot as a weightlifter.
Yeah.
Form traditional relationships. Your Männerbund. Obviously, this type of thing. Your circle of male friends. This type of thing. He stresses it, and it's a great book. And sadly, it's not really that available. It's not on Book Depository or Amazon, as far as I know.
Yeah, you gotta get it from the site.
Yeah, the goldenone.se, I don't know, I forget. I'll put it down below. But yes, Marcus Folan, Dauntless is a great book.
Yeah, I've had the pleasure to get to know Mr. Marcus a little bit. So he's a really great guy. He actually gave a shout to the Bizarchives on his channel.
Oh, I didn't know that part. I've been watching since like forever. This guy, and he became a family man, became a father. His time is a little bit limited now. But, it's really great advice. I mean, for any young man out there who's just revolted with, or just feeling, not even revolt, maybe you're just feeling nothing. That's not normal to feel nothing. But this is the world where you're just, you're constantly searching for the dopamine hits. And then this guy, Marcus, he comes along and then he's got his points all in a row, and he's really recommended reading, I must say.
Yeah. I love his work. I think he's great. Yeah, I would say that too. You know, if you're nihilism is not an acceptable position.
That's poison for the soul.
Poison
Absolutely.
for the soul. Nietzsche, when he was writing about nihilism, he was warning against it. If you need to stand for something. You need to have conviction and integrity and love, and you have to be. That's what being a man is. And
Yes.
I know it's tough because the system hates men. It hates men.
Yes.
It
Yes.
It is literally designed to cut manliness and masculinity out from the bodies of men growing up, from boys, cutting it out of boys like it's a cancerous tumor. And they want you feminized. They want you effectively an obedient eunuch. And you should reject that. Go pump weights, go learn how to fight, pick up some awesome literature, learn how to recite poetry, go hunting, get together with your boys and start a man's club and do man stuff. Be a man.
Yeah. It's such a basic message, but one that is, I mean, first of all, controversial this day, but just something that I don't think, just because of all the shit that gets pumped into us from day one, is just something we didn't really think about and realize.
Yeah, exactly.
That's the way I see it. Yeah. Anyway, we've had a really great conversation here. We could go on and on, but I like to keep it under 2 hours at least for my audience. But before we go, let's wrap up some questions regarding the Bizarchives. Where can everyone find the Bizarchives when they want to read it?
You can go over to thebizarchives.com and go check out there. We have links to our books, or you can go find us on Amazon, Books A Million, and other retailers. So if you are, I forget what they're called, but there's ones that are in like the Netherlands and in Sweden and all over the place. Whatever your book retailer is in your country, if you're not in the United States or Canada or whatever, go check that out. Type in the Bizarchives and it should come up. We have a few books that are available now. We have more coming. You can get the Bizarchives 1, the Bizarchives 2, which has full interior art, beautiful work. We have a Cosmic Horror double feature, which you guys that watch this channel, the cultists out there, you are going to just go read it. I bet you're going to like it. I bet you're going to like it. It is Cosmic Horror, but it is it's a fresh take on it. It's not like a Lovecraft copycat. Mr. Cuthbertson writes it in his own thing. It's 2 novellas in one. It's less than 100 pages, really short read, but the stories are really, really great. The second one's my Presswick's Project, blew my mind. And I'm not just saying this because I publish it. Presswick's Project is my favorite non-Lovecraft cosmic horror story. I adore it. I think it's brilliant. We also have Man in the 25th Century, which is a reprint of Philip Francis Nolan's original works of the iconic character, Buck Rogers in the 25th century. So you can go check that out. That's it's a really cool book. It's a little bit edgy, but it was written in 1920 something. You guys are gonna like it. It's really, really crazy. It's really dystopian and really cool stuff. Then we got Bizarchives 3 coming out very, very soon, as well as Chronicles of Heraldria by M.S. Jones, one of our pillar authors, which is a epic fantasy series. It's really good. I've been digging into the first book. It's really, really good. The guy's a brilliant writer. So we got a lot of stuff coming out of there. TheBizarchives.com. Check us out on your book retailers. You can check out, we have a Substack, our official blog called The Obelisk, which has all kinds of different stuff on there. It's loaded with awesome content. We write all kinds of articles about pulp fiction, the history of pulp fiction, pulps from back in the day that got overlooked. The private life of H.P. Lovecraft and Robert E. Howard. We write all kinds of stuff. There's and if you sign up for the premium, which is only $5 a month, we get there's stories in there that don't get published. So unpublished stories go on there. We have what's called the Paranormal Transmissions, which is people's actual eyewitness accounts of dealing with the paranormal. So there's stories about ghosts and Bigfoot, and one guy just put in a story, not a story, but his account of kind of UFOs or something. It's pretty weird stuff. And then also I have a podcast on there called Pulp Talk, where I once in a while I get some guy from the pulp scene, an author or a publisher, and get them on there and talk about it. We have I have an episode on there with Matthew Punjatori, and he publishes gothic horror, and he does some cosmic horror stuff. And then I also have an interview with Mr. David West, who writes Weird West. He does some cosmic horror, and then he also writes like turbo violent sword and sorcery stuff. Is very, very good. So I talk with these fellas, and I talk with the authors, and we also have the Bizarre Cast on there, where I get on and I talk with our authors, so you can get to know them and stuff like that. Because a lot of our guys, they don't really have big social media. They're kind of they do their thing and everything, and we give them a platform they can get out and talk, so people can get to know them, get to know the guy behind the stories that they really, really like. But we got so much stuff on the way: video games, film, tabletop role playing. But our main focus is the Bizarchives, weird tales of monsters, magic, and machines. So if you are a fan of old school weird fiction and you want to see the tradition stay alive, the living tradition of weird fiction, the best way you can help us is to go buy a copy of our book, tell your friends about it, give us a share, get involved with the community, follow us on Twitter and Telegram at the Bizarchives. And we got all kinds of stuff coming. We're working very hard for all you guys. So come join the community. Come join the Bizarre King Nation, and get involved. Let's do it.
That sounds great. And you're available on Twitter, Telegram, YouTube. You got the blog and everything. Am I missing anything else besides the channels?
No, I think that's it.
All right, and all links will be put down in the description below, where you guys can check it out. And for the inspiring writers that are always sending me stuff via email, Dave, you still have submissions open for Bizarchives 4.
Yup, we are always accepting submissions. We get a lot of submissions, so sometimes it takes us a little while to get around to reading your story and getting back to you. But just be patient, and we will read it, and we'll get back to you. We work as fast as we can, but we will read it. And if you want feedback or something, you can just send me an email, and I'll let you know what we thought about it, and where your story's at. But you can go on to bizarchives.com. You can click on submissions and go check out all of the criteria for sending a story. I believe the criteria is it has to be between 1,000 and 6,000 words, and it has to be within one of the subgenres that we go for, like just whatever weird fiction genre you're writing in. It has to be in a doc format, and try to make it as clean as possible. Edit it to the best of your ability, and we'll get back to you on it, and we'll try to get you into a copy, or get you into a copy of the Bizarchives.
That's great. Great to know. Guys, everything is down below where you can find it out. Dave, thank you so much for spending nearly 2 hours with me talking about Bizarchives and everything in between. Sopranos, the state of the world, Black Pills, everything. That's not true.
My pleasure.
I really enjoyed it. And hopefully, we can do this again sometime. If you have any other thing you want to say before we log off, go ahead.
No, just everybody make sure you like and subscribe if you haven't to Mr. Arkham Reporter, and share his stuff. This guy kills it, man. This guy's the best Lovecraft content creator on the internet. He's my favorite. Support this guy. Get involved with this stuff. Join his stuff. Do all that. Support Mr. Damien and the Arkham Reporter.
Okay, thank you very much. He's not paid to say that, by the way. It's true. Anyway, thank you very much. And we'll see you in the comment section below. Thanks for watching, guys. Cheers.